There's a couple of things in common I see between this story of these Walmart strikes and this story about, and this is actually the second or third or fourth of these stories, and Mike Elk I guess it was in These Times, does a good job of sewing these together. Apparently, Koch Industries sent out a packet to all the employees of one of its subsidiaries, Georgia Pacific, basically saying, in substance, you better vote for Mitt Romney or your jobs could be in jeopardy. I mean, not because we would fire you, but because you know what happens when you give a Kenyan socialist 2 terms. All of a sudden, they just go right after the paper supply companies. I'm paraphrasing, of course, here, but the gist of it is, well, I mean, here's the cover letter. If we elect candidates who want to spend billions of dollars in borrowed money on costly new subsidies for a few favored cronies, put unprecedented regulatory burdens on business, prevent or delay important new construction projects, and excessively hinder free trade, then many of our more than 50,000 U.S. employees and contractors may suffer the consequences. Including higher gasoline prices, runaway inflation, and other ills. You will literally get sick if you vote for Obama, says the CEO of Koch Industries. Or, excuse me, the COO, Chief Operating Officer. And at the request of many employees, we have also provided a list of candidates in your state that have been supported by Koch companies or Koch PAC, our Employee Political Action Committee. I am sure there was a lot of employees who wrote into their bosses, hey, could you please tell us how to vote? So, and apparently Citizens United made it a lot easier for corporations to do this with their employees. There have been other instances of this reported as of late. Gawker got a letter from the CEO of Westgate Resorts, that Florida billionaire David Siegel. Was he the one where Romney had the 47% meeting, or is this the one that had the...
This is the guy who built the country's largest house.
Okay. Well, there he is. He's got a big house. And he informed his 7,000 employees that a vote for Obama would also endanger their jobs. Alec McGillis had a piece in the New Republic. He was on Up with Chris. They talked about this, that Murray Energy, which I believe is a coal industry, I'm not 100% sure, has routinely coerced its employees into supporting Republican candidates by saying things like, we've looked at who's given money and we feel insulted by you who has not given to Republicans. So you have all this activity, and when I hear about how hard it is to unionize now because of changes in government regulation, because, of course, unions, just like corporations, need to get their legal abilities from government. And because unions, as specific entities, just like corporations like specific entities, do not exist in nature. And they have certain laws to protect their members, to protect their shareholders. Sadly, Taft-Hartley curbs a union's ability to do right now what is being done to Walmart, which is essentially to have one entity that is organizing people across different industries in support of one action. And then you see the rollback of regulations and laws. There are some states which make what's happening here illegal, many more states that don't. Federal laws have been inhibited by the Supreme Court to the extent that there were any. And so, to those libertarians who call us on a fairly regular basis and say we need to shrink government, we need to make government smaller, and of course that is a meaningless statement if you don't peg it to something. Should we make government as small as it was on the day that we got rid of the Confederacy? Even though our population is, I don't know how many times, 50 times larger, 100 times larger, 150, 200 times larger, I don't know. They just say we need it smaller. The idea, because corporations have corrupted it, and the bigger it is, the easier it is to corrupt in some way. The idea that you could make corporations smaller and you would somehow get more freedom, like the idea to organize to wildcat strikes or to vote for whom you want to, is just absurd. I understand the concept of government not acting properly or functioning properly because it has been corrupted in certain instances by corporate power. But the idea that if government was smaller and had less of a reach, less of an ability to regulate these corporations, less of an ability to police these organizations, that somehow we'd all magically get more freedom is just simply fantasy land. What it would do is it would allow for capital and the concentration of capital in the form of very wealthy people or corporations to exert more freedom to inhibit the freedom of everyone else. That's what it would do. That it would allow the concentration of capital and corporations and wealthy people more freedom to pollute the rest of our air, the rest of our natural resources, the commons. That's what it would do. But the idea that by making government smaller, we can reduce corporate corruption or corporate influence is ludicrous. And I think these stories of what corporations do in the absence of government regulation, whether it's the Koch brothers sending this out or it's Walmart retaliating against its workers for attempting to exercise their free speech. That is the libertarian vision for the future. And I can assure you, if corporations had the ability to, let's say, have free reign of the internet, which they very well may, free reign of those devices which provide the internet, what they would do is eventually, as shows like The Majority Report get bigger, they'd say, you know what, I think it's time to throttle back a little bit on the bandwidth here so that we can supply these people who want an independent voice. We'll give them MSNBC only. Or we'll give them CNN only. Or ABC or NBC News only. Or corporate news only. Now, of course, it's not just net neutrality that we need to maintain this show. We also need your support.